and welcome to eGym's Insights Roadshow webinar. We wanted to bring you the wrap up from the roadshow to make sure that you have the best bits of knowledge from each individual part that we brought to you over this complete series. I will be introducing each of our speakers individually in the coming webinar series. We hope you enjoy and we look forward to seeing you on the next roadshow. Our first speaker is Jack Conard, the digital lead at UK Active. He will be talking to you about digital trends in fitness and which technology to be looking to ensure your facility is future ready.
But to introduce myself and UK Active, I'm the digital lead. So we're the not-for-profit health body for the physical activity sector here in the UK. So we represent around 4,000 members and partners, and our raison d'etre is to get more people more active more often. And we're completely agnostic as to how people get active, as long as it's across the entirety of society. And we believe that you guys, as gym operators, are the backbone of all of that, to enabling people to lead healthier lifestyles. And we really believe that technology holds the key to getting more people active. And so in 2017, we founded Active Lab, which is our digital transformation arm, to identify the best technologies from around the world and bring them here to the UK's physical activity sector to predominantly help you guys to adopt it. And that's why I'm here today. So technology is a massive enabler for all of us, not only to get the inactive active, but also maximise the impact of your facilities. So that could be maximising the health of people who are within your facilities, but I think maybe more importantly, maximising the financial success, which is incredibly important. And how I'm going to approach that today is talk about the everyday digital solutions which are affecting the way that we use digital in everyday life, how that's affecting on the physical activity sector, and then what you can do now to start adopting that technology and what we're aiming for. First of all, digital it's not a nice to have anymore, it's fundamental to everyday life. 64% of people say the internet is essential, but it's not only essential to the functions of everyday life, half of people believe that it's essential to having fun in life. And that's really aided by the amount of devices which are available to people on the market now. So 78% of people in the UK owned smartphones back in 2018. That's probably risen now, but I'd hazard a guess that 100% of people in this room have a smartphone on them today. But what's particularly interesting about this, I think, is that 20% of people in 2018 owned smartwatches. And when you consider that the Apple Watch was released in 2015, in 3 years they've already got a fifth of the market. That's absolutely incredible. And who knows what's next? Probably smart glasses, and how they will come into the market and affect the way we live or the way we get active will be incredibly interesting. But especially in this setting, a myth I'd like to bust now is that it's not all about the millennials when we're talking about this kind of stuff. It's about everyone in society. So 73% of Americans over the age of 65 use the internet. And that's something very simple, but the internet lays the foundation for all technology in society. And so we should be thinking about how we can develop solutions for older people as well as younger people and everyone else in between, all abilities in between. So what are the three things which are really pushing forward this everyday digital adoption? To begin with, we're now more connected than we have ever been before, and that could be in a infrastructure sense, so things like the release of 5G now, so we're much more connected to the grid and we can get as much data as we possibly want within a matter of seconds, but also in how we connect to each other. So now the biggest communities in the world lie online. There's over 1 billion active users on Facebook, which is incredible because it means that we can connect with each other all around the world. And this lies the foundations for incredible innovations to develop from this. We're also completely addicted to data, but we want to understand more about ourselves, but not only about ourselves, also about our businesses. So how we can efficiently grow or drive efficiencies throughout the entire operations. But we always want to know more, and what I've got up here is that climate scientists have access to 800,000 years worth of data, yet they still want more and they're still arguing about it. And if 800 years isn't enough, then 800,000 years isn't enough, then who knows how much they actually really need to satisfy their addiction. And this connectivity and the data makes everything so much more consumer-centric than it ever was before. So now some of the biggest brands in the world are direct-to-consumer brands. And it's all about speed and convenience for the consumers. But in our world, it's Peloton. Peloton are doing exactly that, taking really engaging workouts into the home, which is fantastic and something that we should really embrace. And I'll get onto that in a minute. So how are these trends really impacting on the way that people get active now? So we as Active Lab and the UK Active Research Institute have done some research into this, and we found that 79% of people use technology to support their health and well-being. When I first saw that figure, I was quite surprised. I thought that was quite high. But when you consider that, people are using Instagram to gain inspiration for their workouts, they're sharing more about their workouts, they may be using smartwatches to track it, or they may just be downloading something from Google to understand how they could get active in different ways. It starts to make sense. But an important divide to realise here is there's the difference in how people use technology throughout society. So 18 to 34-year-olds are much more likely to use smartphone apps, as older people are much more likely to use hardware like smartwatches. We believe that's because of the cost barrier, but we don't actually know that yet, but we're going to do more research to figure that out. So moving on from the everyday trends, here are the trends that we're seeing in physical activity. And the first one is tracking absolutely everything that we do. And that's absolutely fantastic because it means we can personalize way more than we ever could. So be that setting goals, be that getting feedback, be that getting rewards. It all means something to us. But also now we really want to get social confirmation for everything that we're doing. So every time we do a workout, we want to be able to upload that on Facebook and get social confirmation from our friends, which encourages us to do more. And tracking really enables that. What we've got going on in the background here is the advert for the first ever Apple Watch. I think it's really interesting to see how this has transitioned over the space of 4 years from 2015. This is classic Apple, it's all style, no substance. It looks absolutely fantastic. And it's a fashion product, not really a technology product. But change that to what you see now. This is the advert for the Apple Watch Series 4, and it's all about ingraining physical activity into everyday life, which is fantastic. It's intergenerational, it's getting young people active like you see here, all the way through to smashing windows with football, through to people with prosthetics. Anyone can use tracking to inspire them to get active. And Apple realised this, and they realised that people want to do more. But all of this data kind of means nothing unless you connect it with other things, and that's where the real value lies. So, I'm not here to sell eGym today, but the eGym fitness app is a really good example of this, how you can get data from absolutely everywhere, from your machines, from your everyday tracking, and upload it and connect it all together to provide one holistic user experience, which is really consumer-centric. Something's clearly going wrong somewhere in the messaging that we use for health and fitness. If 25% of England's population is inactive, so they're not reaching 30 minutes of physical activity a week, which I think is a terrifying figure. That's less than 5 minutes a day, and that's a brisk walk. Then the messaging that we're using now and saying you need to be healthier and you need to focus on your well-being clearly isn't working. So that's why I bring up stealth health, because technology enables us to incentivize physical activity without making health and well-being the focus of it. And a great example of this is Pokemon Go. And there's been research that's gone into this that shows that Pokemon Go users increase their daily step rate by 26%. It's creating a huge impact. So those are the trends driving the adoption of physical activity driving the adoption of technology throughout the physical activity sector. But what can we do now to really grasp that opportunity and get the benefits from it? And in keeping with all of the themes that we've spoken about already. So the first one is connecting your gym. Now there's swathes of technology out there, as we've kind of already touched upon, and if your gym's not connected, it's really hard for people to use those simple things like, say, Strava within your gym, or get the points from Sweatcoin for the more activity that you do. And If we're looking at providing a really consumer-centric experience and maybe get the inactive more active, these people are 100% used to being connected the whole time, and so they need to have that connected experience within their gym. And that could be as simple as installing some really decent Wi-Fi. And it's interesting that, even now, decent Wi-Fi within facilities can be hard to come by. But also, connecting your equipment can provide a whole new experience within your gym. Not only for the consumers, so they can understand more about how they're getting active and what impact that's having on their health, but also for you guys. The more you understand about how people use your equipment, what demographics are likely to do what time of day, means that you can inform the evolution of your products. But it doesn't just stop within the four walls of your facilities. We've got to think outside of that box and how we connect with consumers outside and engage with the physical activity that they're doing there and bring it into what you're doing within your facilities. And one thing we're really passionate about at UK Active is that gyms and facilities, whatever they may be, should be community hubs. And if that means that you're going cycling or you're walking or you're playing football at the weekend, but then you go into your community gym and hub and talk about that with your mates and figure out what kind of workout I should do to improve that, then absolutely fantastic. That's what we should be doing, and that's what we should be aiming for. So moving on to open data, we've talked a lot about data at the moment, and the process that many of us are going through or have gone through is this: from paper-based solutions through to digitizing that paper-based trail. And yes, that's a good first step, but that definitely is not the last step. And there's so much more to digitizing your data than just putting it on a laptop. And that's why with Sport England, we've developed a program called Open Active. And Open Active is all about opening up that data that you guys are collecting and making sure that it's available to the outside world. Next one, virtual experiences. Now, virtual experiences, are becoming more and more prevalent. And this means that you can engage your members on literally another level, providing really engaging experiences for ways that suit them. Virtual reality has come on leaps and bounds over the past few years, and now you've got products like the Oculus Quest, which is completely wireless, and you can move around however much you want. However, it's not all about the goggles. I don't know if you guys have ever tried working out in a virtual reality headset, but sweating in a pair of those goggles is absolutely horrible. And to be honest, at the moment, I wouldn't recommend it. But this is young technology, and it's definitely going to improve into the future. Now, I completely understand that adopting fit tech isn't a rosy world of, we can just go find these solutions and get them. There's, some real barriers in the way. And we've worked with partners and done some research into this and released a report this year called the Fit Tech Framework, aiming to provide people like you with some advice and some expertise as to how you can get around these barriers. So for example, funneling the fit tech opportunity, there's hundreds of technologies out there. Which one is right for you? How can you figure that out? Or the cost is always the biggest barrier. How do you get around that cost barrier with your boardroom? And education, I think, is the most important one, because you need everyone to understand the impact of technology on your facilities from boardroom all the way through to gym floor, making sure you can gain that technology in the first place and then implement it properly as well. So why are we doing this? What are we really aiming for? So this is what we believe the physical activity experience in 2030 should be. So it should be you being able to seamlessly identify which physical activities you can take part in through open data to make sure that you can find the stuff that you really want to do. Be that at-home experiences or experiences which activate green spaces in your local community or experiences that are in your facilities. Something that suits everyone. We also believe that there should be more incentivization to get people active. So that could be from the government. The more you get active, and if you're willing to share your data with the government, then you can get tax breaks for that. And people are already doing this, like Vitality, who are providing insurance breaks in their insurance premiums for the more active you get through Apple Watches. And it's been proven to be incredibly successful. We also believe that there'll be some kind of subsidization in the future. So all of this data that we've talked about a lot is incredibly valuable to all sorts of different organizations around the world. And if your members are willing to share that data and enable you to share that with these organizations for a price, that means that it could subsidize their gym membership and encourage them to get active more. Again, it's got to be an incredibly ethical and safe manner, but it's definitely possible and something that we should all be thinking about. And then finally, it should be a completely connected experience, not only for the users, so they can connect their activity from outside to the inside and understand how it's impacting on their health and understand what they've got to do in order to improve certain elements of their body or whatever it may be, but also for you guys, not only to help you evolve your products and make sure that they continue to engage members in new ways. You know, that full connection doesn't just stop within the four walls of your assets. As I said earlier, you've got to think outside of that box and how you connect with people everywhere. And that can be working out when you're on holiday in Greece or wherever you may be on the other side of the world. But when you're working out, you're actually working out with the people within your gym. And it's creating that sense of community and focusing on the community hub that you guys are trying to build. A couple of things I'd love you guys to walk away from this is that, you know, technology supplements what you're doing. It does not take away from personal trainers. It enables them to focus on the things that really matter to your gym. So be that, you know, focusing on personalized interactions or making a community atmosphere or motivation or whatever it may be. It saves them time and enables you to create better atmospheres. But also technology is a massive enabler, and we have the opportunity to adopt it in free ways now and to really enhance our products. So we should definitely start considering how we do that in effective ways. Thanks very much.
Next, sharing insight into the sales journey and the audience targeting is Michael Dilku and Simon Beer from Big Wave Media.
And there's a gentleman called Daniel Kahneman, who's a Nobel Prize winning psychologist, and basically he's been studying sort of brain behavior, and he says although we've got one brain, it's broken down into two systems. System 1, which is automatic thinking, and system 2, which is logical process thinking, okay? And it's really important to understand the difference between these two systems when people are making decisions. And when I first got there, I was a little bit like this customer. This is what I call system 2 decision making, where you're confronted by a sea of decisions you have to make, and you have to try and comprehend and try and make sense of what you're seeing in front of you. And I think what we forget in gyms is that people don't know what is the right product that they need to be engaged with, what the right services they need to be engaged with, and they're just as clueless when they're looking at the sea of options that you're offering them as to what they need to do. And when I talk to a lot of people about sales, they go, oh, I don't know if I want to do sales because I don't want to be forcing someone to do something they don't want to do, and that kind of stuff. Or I'm not a fitness instructor, so I don't want to be giving people fitness advice. Well, the thing is, we're not giving people fitness advice, and we're not selling them anything they don't want or don't need. All we're trying to do, and all we do in sales, is help people to make a decision. And what we want to do in leisure membership sales is that final decision is, do you want to go ahead today? Narrowing it down to one choice, do you want to go ahead today? If you're still presenting them a sea of options, you get what we call decision paralysis, and they want to go away and think about it because they don't want to make the wrong decision. We've got to make it really nice and easy for them. So I then, when I graduated university, I went to join a company called Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and I'd never done sales theory before. I just sort of picked it up by natural ability. And this was the first time I was introduced to sales theory, and they've got something called the cycle of service. And the bit I was going to focus on is the sales bit, which is everything from when we pick the customer up to the rental contract, because that was crucial for me in being a successful salesperson with them. And I think we spend too much time at the transaction stage. So I don't know, I haven't been to any of your gyms, but if I was to go to your gyms, sometimes too much emphasis is placed on, I'm going to tell you all about the product, I'm going to tell you all about the prices, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about fitness, all at this stage of the process, and it's the wrong stage of the process. And when I was doing car rental, that's kind of what I was taught to do. And to give you an example, which is quite transferable to leisure, if any of you have ever had an accident and you get a courtesy car, you get picked up from the garage by someone like myself, and I would drive you back to the rental desk, and I'll say at the rental desk, oh, okay, so you've got this car, or you can have this car, or you've got this insurance, but you could have this insurance. And I'm just a massive inconvenience to you because you just want to sign the rental contract and get out the door. And I found that really difficult, that I was inconveniencing someone, really struggling to get my message across, and really struggling to get a sale. So what I did was I went back to their cycle of service, and I had a look about where I could start to introduce the sales process a little bit earlier to give me a little bit more time, a little bit more privacy to go through that. And the first step was when I picked them up. So we've maybe got a 10, 15-minute car journey where I've got that person and I can talk to that person, I'm not inconveniencing them. And what we're trained to do at Enterprise Rent-A-Car was to rapport build. So get to know that person. What is it, what do they normally use their car for? Is it for family trips? Is it for business? What do they normally use their car for? Once you understand that person and what they use the car for and what they're going to be using it for over the next 2 weeks while they've got the courtesy car, is you can say, well, actually, the car you're going to get is this. Is that going to be suitable for you? Because there is another car which is very similar to the car that you drive, which would only be an extra £5 a day. So you're just setting that scene for them to say, this is the decision you need to make, and I'm just setting that scene for you within the car journey. What would then happen is you'd park the car up, and obviously all the cars are there on display. So I would then say, okay, so this is the car you were going to get, that's the car I was telling you about, and this is the car you could get for that £5 a day. Should I run in and get the keys and I'll show you around? So this is kind of the equivalent of your tour, basically. And you're showing that car, and then by the time you then get back to the rental desk, they've made that decision, and all I'm now doing is, closing the deal, getting the rental contract done, and getting them on their way, and I'm no longer inconveniencing them, okay? Now, the reason I give this example is I ask people, do they see that as sales or do they see that as customer service? So I'm going to ask some of you, do you see that as sales or customer service? Anyone want to shout out at me?
I thought it was customer service because you're not sat at a desk with a pen and paper and they feel as though you're trying to sell them something. You're discussing it in the car.
Absolutely. And that was why they called it the cycle of service, not the cycle of sales or the cycle of making loads of money. It's a cycle of getting completely satisfied customers, basically. Okay? So, going back to system one then. What are people expecting when they come into your gyms? When you're trying to target the inactive, what kind of emotions are they going to be experiencing? So one of those things is called loss aversion. So what they don't want to do is end up losing on the deal. So if you say to someone, joining our gym is going to be 30, 40, 50 pounds a month, and you don't achieve any results, where you're 30, 40, 50 pounds a month out of pocket, and I'm not out of pocket, and you haven't got anywhere. So I haven't really delivered on the service for you. And these people that have never gone to the gym before, who don't know what they're doing, they are really, really scared they're just going to be wasting their money. And so they will walk away from you at the end of that deal to go away and think about it because they don't want to lose out on the deal. So it's one of the reasons we have things like money-back guarantees. Free trials is a little bit of a grey area because usually you use a free trial to get someone in front of you and then you use a money-back guarantee to close the sale there and then. But a free trial is another one of those to try and reduce that loss aversion that they may be experiencing. Another one is they're going to be really, really nervous, and we always feel safe around people who look like and feel like us. So if you're going into a gym and it's got a bodybuilder type vibe, if it was in my case, and I'm quite a skinny guy, and I'm seeing guys lifting lots of weights, and all the fitness instructors are really fit and handsome, and I don't think I'm fit and handsome, then I'm going to sort of maybe feel that this isn't the right place for me, I don't feel comfortable here, I don't feel safe here. And so therefore, I may, at the end of the day, say, I need to go and speak to my partner, I need to go away and think about it, because I just didn't feel comfortable and safe. So what we have to do on our tour is to make people feel welcome, comfortable and safe, and have things in our speeches that we talk about that gets that point across. Okay? Next one, people use past experience to help make their decisions. So if you've gone running before and it was really hard work, I didn't really see much weight loss from it, and it was really painful, and I didn't achieve. When I'm saying to you, come and join our gym, all I'm thinking is it's going to be painful, it's going to be hard work, I may not achieve. So again, we have to understand that they've got these past experiences, and we have to explain why we're different, why this is going to work for you, where everything you've done in the past maybe didn't, and make them feel better about making that decision with you. And the final one is we live in the now. And I'm guilty of this. I always have great intentions to get up at 6 o'clock and start working. And then 6 o'clock comes and I think, crikey, is it 6 o'clock already? I want to hit that snooze button. And this is really, really crucial in getting across in the sales process. How are you going to motivate your members to come and use you? Because I know if I sign up today, when I get to that crossroads after work the next day, I can turn right and have a bottle of wine and go home and watch Netflix, or I can go left and I can go to the gym and spend half an hour at the gym. I may have all the greatest intentions and I may have booked that class and I may have booked whatever it is that I'm going to be doing with you, But I know right there in the now, I'm probably going to go right and I'm probably going to go home because that's what I've done always in the past. So how do we make it so easy for people to come in and use our facilities? Okay, and that's got to come across in your sales messages. So we tend to put all of this sort of system one stuff into two formulas. And we talked a lot about customer satisfaction, that being highly linked to sales. So the first formula I want you to remember, or take a photo on your phone or you'll get a copy of the deck later, is customer satisfaction equals perceived value minus the customer's expectations. Now, I don't think salespeople spend enough time managing people's expectations, because if you overpromise and underdeliver, you're going to get high attrition in your gyms. Okay? So what we have to do, and there's ways you can do that without it affecting the sale, of really managing people's expectations in the process. The other thing is you need to get across the value of your gym, why you're different to everyone else, all these things that you're adding value to, which they're not going to get anywhere else. Okay? And we can break down the perceived value into your product, your service, and your experience. And it surprises some people, I don't think it will surprise anyone in this room, but it surprises some people that your product is getting people results. Your product isn't access to gym equipment. If you're a budget operator, maybe, I'm not having a go at them, but maybe it's just access to gym equipment. But you guys, I know, want to deliver a service and you want to get people results. So that has to come across in the tour. And if you can get people results, people are prepared to pay a price for that. And it may be more than just access to gym equipment. So therefore, you don't have to be the cheapest gym, but you have to demonstrate the value of your product over the competition if it's more than just access to equipment. The next one is service, and that's your process reliability. So if I book a class and it gets cancelled, that's really poor process reliability. If I go to your gym at 7:30 at night and all of the equipment that I want to use is packed out with other members, again, that's really bad process reliability. So the better the process reliability, the less inconvenience I'll have in time as well. So the more time I'm spending to do my workout, that's kind of bad if I'm being held up all the time. But if I can get my workout done quickly, then there's a little personal inconvenience to me. And the final one is the experience. How cool is your gym? How safe is your gym with the type of people that are there? Are they my type of people or are they not my type of people? How friendly are the staff? All of those things add to the experience within your facility, and that's a positive thing. And the negative is the personal uncertainty. So again, if I'm uncomfortable in your gym, if the staff never smile, if they never say hello, I'm not going to feel comfortable there, I'm not going to feel safe, I'm not going to come, and so therefore I'm going to quit. So again, that's a negative impact. And what I love about these formulas is, now you've got to experience eGym. It's kind of like eGym saw this formula when they were designing it, because basically, we guarantee results. You can get on the equipment in the circuit formula, there's no waiting times. If it was full, you'd have to wait a minute and a half maybe to get on the equipment, and that's it, then you're on and you're around. 30 minutes twice a week, it's not really inconveniencing much in time. In terms of the experience, well, it's pretty cool, pretty nice area, all that kind of stuff, it's the latest stuff. And how uncertain do I feel? Well, there's no weights, no one can see what I'm lifting, no one can see what I'm doing, no one knows I'm skinny and got the legs of a 60-year-old, no one has to know that, okay? But the point is, I just show up, don't have to think, get it done, can go home. And that was the motivational side. If I'm at that crossroads, it doesn't matter how good or bad I feel, just do your 30 minutes twice a week, whatever day you've planned that in, just do it and you will guarantee results. And you don't have to think, just get on it, get it done, get home, okay? And that needs to come across in your sales tool. So, when we're talking about results, okay, it's good to have these airy-fairy language that, okay, eGym guaranteed results and stuff. But I think sometimes we've got to prove how we get people results. And I wanted to give you a little story that I used to tell when I was a salesperson, which kind of helps people make a decision. Now this decision's down to you. And so these are my stats. So I am actually hidden obese, which means I have a high fat percentage and a low muscle score. It doesn't surprise you, I don't have much muscle on my body. And when I was confronted with that news, I thought, well, okay, I'll go on a diet because I don't want to exercise, I'm a bit lazy, okay? So I went on a diet, and in the short period of time that I was miserable and hated every minute of being on that diet, I lost 1.1 kilos of body weight. And I thought, hey, fantastic, got on the scales, that's amazing, high five. However, 0.1 of a kilo of that was fat, and 1 kilo of that was muscle. And anyone who knows the relationship between muscle and calorie burn, base metabolic rate, will know that my base metabolic rate went down. I burned 34 calories a day less than I did before. And so actually I'm more hidden obese now than I was before I went on that diet. So going on that diet and going through all that misery was completely pointless for me. Okay? Now that's a really good story for someone who is like me, if I'm saying to someone like me, because I'm saying, discounts, Slimming World, Weight Watchers, going on a diet, all that kind of stuff. Equally, access to gym equipment isn't necessarily going to be suitable for you, because I might have just been listening to what I've been told, which is go on a treadmill, go on a cross trainer, go on those kind of exercises, when really what I need to do is put muscle on. There's no other training that's going to be recommended for me, right? So if I'm told this story and then I'm shown eGym, that's the solution for you, Michael. Well then, and that's quite an easy solution, right? Just 30 minutes twice a week. You can see how that story lends itself to why they should join you, why should they trust you, why should they pay more for you over your competition. And so a lot of this stuff is educational. And a lot of this stuff is when people are calling you up asking for your price and stuff, they're not necessarily going to know what your differentiating factor is until they come and meet the salesperson. So we do have to try and get some snippets of these motivational messages out to people before they come into your facilities to make them want to inquire into your facilities. And when we're doing tours around the facility, again, how you communicate the messages that you want to communicate, those educational messages. This is an install we did the other week. And the reason we have the curve on the wall is when we're talking about how eGym works, we want people to listen in and engage with me when I'm explaining how the curve works. The other thing is, the 30 minutes twice a week equals guaranteed results. So if I'm just talking at you and there's no visual anywhere, well, I'm just talking at you. But if it's there presented, it's visual, you can take that information in many more ways than just if I'm just talking at you. Final thing is engagement in your educational messages. So British Airways, I'm not saying whether you like the video or don't like the video, but they found that people weren't engaging with the safety messages when they boarded the plane. And so in conjunction with Comet Relief, they got a load of celebrities to do the safety messages on their planes. And they found that engagement in people watching the safety videos has improved. So I know you think you're a gym and you can't get A-list celebrities and all this kind of stuff, but we have clients who have either paid for a brand ambassador or they have brand ambassadors who work with local charities and they ask, if we promote your charity, would you be able to do these videos for us in return? And they can usually get that for free. And then we see the engagement in the educational messages on your fitness journey come across. I'm going to hand you over to Simon now. He's going to talk to you a little bit more about marketing and how you can realise that potential.
So Michael talked about sales. I'm going to talk about the step before that, which is the lead generation and targeting your audience. And there's 3 different elements to what I'm going to talk about. So the first one is audiences, so your current members and those potential new prospects. Second is digital journeys, so the journeys that those people will be going on. And the third step is the platforms that we can use to reach them. So starting with audiences, I'm sure most of you have got an idea who your kind of core target audience is. What we always talk about is using the data to analyse exactly who your target audience is, and there's lots of different ways of doing that. By doing this, you can get a much richer understanding of exactly who you need to reach, but you can also identify the gaps where you've got maybe pockets of demographics that you're not servicing or aren't coming into facility. So there's multiple benefits to doing a little bit of work around that. So there are lots of different ways of doing it. I'm going to show a couple of kind of relatively easy ways of doing it, which are free, and then there are paid ways of doing it. So not many people realise this, but there's a mapping function in Excel. So if you feed in locations or postcodes, and then there's a little map button, you can press that and it will create a heat map of where your members are. So all you need to do is just export your data from your ledger management system or CRM, and then upload stick it into your Excel file, and then click on those buttons. Most people know someone that's a bit whizzy in spreadsheets, so potentially you can get support through that. The second free way of doing this is through Google Maps. So you can actually upload a spreadsheet to Google Maps of address data. So all you need is a postcode. If you've got more data than that, so specific locations, or you've got member information like membership type or plan, or any other kind of metrics you want to do, you can push those into Google, and it will then map those. The more information you put in, the more you can then interact with it. So you can then click on map points and kind of look around and stuff like that. So the point of doing this is that you then start to see where your members are coming from. So for some reasons, it might be that you've actually got larger pockets over one side because you've got, say, road systems that mean you're not going to get people going from certain places. And locationally, you're probably going to know all that kind of information, but it helps you kind of build a picture of it. There are then more in-depth ways that you can analyse your current members. So there's a few systems that we use. One's Acorn, which is a fairly expensive system, but there are ways of getting this for free, which I'll explain in a second. Experian, which is a lot cheaper, and there are lots of other systems that connect into Experian as well. And then there are free data sets like Sport England market segmentation as well. So I'll just briefly show you what some of the intel you can get back out looks like. So with all these systems, Acorn and Experian, you effectively are uploading your member database. So again, the postcodes. Sport England is free, and this is more sports orientated. So for larger facilities that have mixed use, then this probably is slightly more relevant. But you can get demographic information about people that live in proximity to your facilities. So you plug in your postcode facility, and it will tell you by pen types, so sort of portraits of the types of people that live in those areas. And again, you get more information about the types of brands that they purchase, the types of things that kind of make them tick, the kind of sports or activities that are likely to engage them. So again, if you're doing Facebook ads or those kind of things, you can target the activities that you know are going to be relevant to them. So if it's Group X or whatever, focus on that as opposed to general fitness membership. So once we know who we're targeting and where our opportunities are, it's how we then start to reach them. So it's understanding what's going to work for those audience types. So I'm just going to talk about the journey that people go on before we get into platforms and the ways to reach them, because I think it's really important to understand how someone goes through the process of buying something. So in this case, we're talking about gym membership, but this is any product or service. This is a plan from Google. They call it the 0 moment of truth, and it's basically their way of disseminating how people go about purchasing something. So whether it's a car or it's fitness membership, this is the process that people go through. It's 4 steps. It's quite simple, and it just helps you to frame what's in someone's head at that point and what's going to make them hold their attention. So it starts with stimulus. This is the first point. This is where someone becomes aware of something. So this can be created in lots of different ways, and it might actually be competitors that create the initial stimulus. So it could be things like a newspaper article, so something about the dangers of diabetes. It could be a blog post that people read, but it starts to get them thinking about their health. It could be that they've picked up a free trial voucher, maybe do outreach through supermarkets, those kind of things. It could be social media. It could be a part of a national campaign. So maybe a larger campaign to create that kind of awareness. But it's the point where people start to get that itch of maybe I want to do something. Then they move into the research phase. So this is real system 2, where people are kind of going into the detail. Some people might be focusing on price. Some people might be focusing on looking at reviews and looking at what other people feel. They may be going to websites, going on social media, asking for recommendations. There's lots of different places that people will go. So if we were to take 50 to 64-year-olds as an example, if they were a core target for us, or we wanted to look at targeting a new group that perhaps isn't coming into our facilities, then Facebook and YouTube are by far the 2 larger networks that those age groups are using. So 65% of 50 to 64-year-olds are using Facebook. It's actually slightly higher for YouTube. Does anybody advertise on YouTube? No? Okay. So there could be a good opportunity there if that's a demographic that you're targeting. And likewise for 65 plus, again, Facebook and YouTube, real high volumes in terms of the difference between all the other channels out there. So it's about picking the channels that work for your audience. And it may be that if you've got different audiences, particularly if you've got a range of facilities or services, that actually you have a different network that you are specifically talking to one audience, and then you have your other network to speak to a slightly different audience. So there's no reason why you might not have multiple ones, but you need to define who you're talking to through them. But I thought it's just interesting to see who is actually using email in terms of age demographics. And for the 65 plus market, we've got 85.5% of that age group. This is from the States, so a bit of a pinch of salt to migrate it over to here, but as a general rule, these kind of stats do tend to kind of track across. So 85.5% of that age demographic using email, which some people might find surprising. So it's not a mechanism to rule out. So the important thing is to think about where the conversion falls. So we'll start getting some of these platforms going, perhaps we're communicating to people in different ways across them, but where are people actually converting? So this is the point where they go from the research to the purchase. So we see most of this happening through what we call a kind of a central hub. So if you're running a campaign or you're promoting a particular activity or service, then generally speaking, your central hub will be a website landing page. So that means that you'll have digital marketing, such as social media ads, search ads, display, email, text messages, social media, etc. And then you might have more traditional kind of forms like leaflet distribution, outreach to supermarkets, billboards, ad trailers, ads in the local media, posters and banners, that kind of thing. But the thing that kind of brings them all together into this hub kind of format is that they all point to a website landing page, which means that that central hub has got to be spot on for trying to get people in, kick them through to the next stage. The call to action on that is probably going to be the online sign up, or to get people to ring or book a free trial or something like that. So we're pushing so much emphasis to, generally speaking, a web landing page. We also need to make sure that that landing page performs. So we host about 300 plus websites, and we see now over 50% of traffic, as a kind of general rule, now comes from mobile. At least we see it as high as about 85%. So most visitors to websites are tipping over the other side to be more mobile than desktop based. Obviously it depends on the product or the service or the company. So it means that you need to make sure that your website adapts to mobile devices. With kind of more kind of talks about this kind of thing over the past few years and changes that Google have made, a lot of organisations are obviously aware of this. So I don't know whether all of your own sites are mobile friendly. There is a way that you can test it. There's a tool called the Google Mobile Friendly Test. Just Google it. And you just plug in a web address and it will tell you whether Google thinks that your website is mobile friendly. If it does, which is great, it'll also tell you if it finds other issues. So this is better.org.uk. So this is GLL's website. So we plug this in. So as you would expect, it is mobile friendly, but it does come back with a load of scripting issues and things that maybe they don't know about that. So Google knows about it. So some of these things may impact on your rankings and things like that. So it's always worth trying to understand what Google knows about your website. So that's a free tool that you can use. So landing pages, the reason why landing pages are important is because it removes all the distraction. So a landing page will typically not have your main menu on it, so you don't have all the menus and the drop downs and so on. Typically don't have the same footer as you would on your standard site, and you basically are just presenting all the information about that relevant activity or product, or gym fitness membership or whatever it might be. And you have a really strong call to action on it. So most of you would have come through the eGym Insights landing page, and you would have seen lots of call to actions to kind of get you to register. So landing pages generally convert about 3 to 5 times more than a standard website page. So that's the really strong reason as to why to use a landing page over your normal website. And call to actions, really important just to fill the site or the page with as many strong call to actions as you can. So I'm going to show you, this is an example of how you can increase the number of conversions that you get through a kind of really simple metric. So on here we've got some examples. This is an old example, but it's a good one. This is a blog for a fitness provider who used to blog about all sorts of different things that might be relevant to their audience. So they're posting these out on social media, and they're trying to get more awareness of these. They're building in SEO techniques to kind of get more clicks through to them. And then they add a free trial form onto the blog page, and suddenly they start getting a lot more conversions because all the stuff that they're trying to do to drive people to it has got a good, strong call to action built into it as well. Blogs generally, according to HubSpot, bring you about 97% more inbound links if you blog, as opposed to not. So really good kind of activity, and it gives you a lot of social content as well. Video works. So as we saw for those older demographics, YouTube is a really strong network. Video great for obviously explaining and being able to get across whatever your product or solution or service is. And social, I won't go into social, but things like competitions work really well in terms of getting some kind of viral element to it. The only thing with social is that the shift change for the last few years has been that drip towards paying as opposed to organic reach. So is anybody doing paid advertising on social? Yeah, is that through Facebook, Instagram? Usually Facebook, okay. Anybody else using social paid media? Yeah, okay, cool. Is that Facebook as well? Instagram, great, okay. So I just wanted to show you, in terms of that kind of older demographic, just to kind of highlight how you can find people, is that we ran a check for a client. So this is a multi-site operator, and we just picked their sites and looked at 13 to 18-year-olds that are available to market to within a 10-mile radius of one of their facilities. And for this one, it was 24,000. And then for 55 plus, that figure jumps up to 40,000. So there is for the older demographic, Facebook is a great kind of network to use for that. Obviously, most people are aware of the kind of targeting that you could do for it, predominantly through bad articles in the news of recent years. But the targeting is so precise and clean that you can really reach exactly who you need to. And it is highly successful. So I've just got some examples. So if you're not using Facebook advertising, just to kind of show you the kind of results that you can get from it and the kind of costs that you might need to pay for it. Here's a couple of examples. So this is a client, this is Implied Leisure, who put in a ladies only facility using eGym equipment. They had a budget of £150. I checked this day before yesterday because it only just started running. They'd spent £38.30 up to that point, and they'd already reached 16,000 or had 16,000 impressions. So the advert came up 16,000 times. They got 65 leads off it already, and that was cost per lead of 59p. And their estimated lead gen, so by the time they spend their budget of 150 quid, they should have about 245 leads. So it's really powerful in terms of the number of people you can reach for quite little money and actually capturing that data. So now they've got that data, they can, sales teams can contact them if that's what they have, which I think they do, but they can e-market them and so on. A similar kind of thing, so this is budget £600, had 1,200 leads, and it cost them 50 pence a lead. So some really great examples of how you can get a lot of leads for not very much money. The alternative to social advertising is search. So is anybody doing Google Ads? Are you guys doing that as well? Yeah? Okay. Anybody else doing Google Ads? No? Okay. So the big difference between search advertising and social is with social, we're targeting people at the stimulus stage because we don't know that they've got any intent to join a gym. Whereas with search, we're targeting people that have got intent. So at this point, people are going onto Google and they're searching for gym in and then whatever their town or city is. And we're able to serve an advert to them. So you would expect to pay a little bit higher for that, but it's people that have got intent. So you're effectively like hiring a giant billboard and getting in front of them at the point where they're looking to make that purchase or do that bit of research. So the reason why it's successful is because 40% of people click on the top 3 ads. So on Google, top 3 adverts, you get 40% of the people that go on it click on those. They convert higher than just when you just come up naturally, so by 50%, and on average they return about 200%. So I mean that varies. I've got some benchmarks for the fitness industry. So for those that are running Google Ads, these are the leisure industry benchmarks. So 3.27% for a click-through rate. So that's the percentage of how many times your advert's shown versus the number of times people click through on it. Total cost per click, as an average, is £2.03. Conversion rates of 3.36, and a cost per conversion of £60.57, which is actually quite high. So I mean, we have our own benchmarks, which are a lot better, which is good. So for every 1 that converts in the industry average, we generally convert 6. So I've got some examples for Google Ads. So this shows you, again, sort of what kind of prices you might expect to pay. So with a budget of 430, again, this is an eGym, a client with eGym facility. So £430 budget, 228 leads. So they had a cost per lead of £1.88. Similar thing here, budget of £600, 361 leads and a cost price of £1.61. So the paid advertising is a really great way to try and get people through. It tends to be quite a good quick win. Obviously from a longer term strategy, you'll always be paying for it. So it's worth looking at SEO strategies, because then you can reduce your expenditure as you get higher visibility. So I'm just about to wrap up. What I'm just going to do, I'm just going to run through this, which is a tool that you can use. So if you do end up going and looking at Google Ads, this is useful for that, but as a tangent, as a side tangent, it's quite a lot of information you can get out of this. So this is something called Google Keyword Planner. So if you type it in, you find it. What you can do is you can search the data that Google holds about searches. So when people go and search on Google, you can interrogate that data and see how many times people search for stuff. So I've punched in HIT as a search term. It's quite hard to read this, isn't it? But this shows you across months of the year the volumes of when people are searching for HIT. So, kind of in line with typical things in the leisure sector. You can see most people are searching for it in January, and then you have your peaks and troughs, so when you kind of naturally would expect it. But it will then show you associated terms. And these are quite useful. So this shows you the different ways that people search for the word HIT. So in this example, it's just about HIT, but you can start to use this information to think about the language and the way that you talk about certain keywords or topics or activities. So you can start talking in the same language as the people that are searching for it. You can do this by location. So you can find out more specifically for your specific location, how do people talk about HIT or whatever it might be. And if you do this with competitors, so here I've punched in Pure Gym, and then we've looked at associated terms, and you can then see the search volume for your competitor. So when is your competitor popular online? When are people searching for them? Which generally tends to be in line with like campaigns that they run. So it's a useful tool. And you could use it for all sorts of things. So business development is a good use. So if you're thinking about putting in particular activities or capital projects, then you could search to see whether there's a demand for it in that area. So I'll just leave this up for a few moments. This is 10 key takeaways from the things that I've kind of run through. I think probably the main things you would get value out of if you're not doing it is paid advertising and social advertising on search and social, because you can get some really quick wins, and it's actually quite cheap. We were talking earlier, and if you're a charity, you can get a grant from Google for it, so you can get about $10,000 a month of just free advertising on Google. So it means you can immediately get to the top of search terms. So that would be my kind of key takeaway if you aren't already trying that and you want to get lead gen in. If you are doing those things, then it'd be to focus on things like landing pages and to look at keyword analysis and stuff like that.
And finally, our final speaker is Guy Griffiths, and he is going to be speaking to you about member retention and numbers that can help you increase that customer retention.
Why do we have an induction? Why is it important? The answer in my book, is to get them to make one visit. Okay, there's a big budget gym chain who I've already given you a clue to who they are. 17% of their joiners make no visits. Not in the first month, ever. They join and they never visit. Quite what they're doing, I don't know. I think there we go, join $19.99 a month, or whatever the price is. There we go, there's my health and fitness sorted. Right, McDonald's. So it's crazy, but making one visit is a problem. There will be people at your clubs, probably not every month, but there will be people who join and never visit. Okay? The reason the goal of the induction out of this same gym chain, on top of those 17%, there's another 12-15%, varies site to site, who make one visit and then never go back. So the goal of the induction from your point of view should be to get them to make one more, okay? And quite often, really challenging a member, really putting them through their paces will mean that's it for them. So for certain members and for certain people, all you want to do is just make them feel good enough to come back, because that first step through the front doors of a health club was the biggest thing they've ever done. To get them to come back and do it again is actually almost as big a mountain for them. And within the induction itself, there's lots of things you want to go through, goal setting and asking them what kind of things they like, and all that stuff is good and important. But understanding either within your system, whether that is a spreadsheet or whether it is Legend or whether it is XN, right? Knowing who has requested and booked and attended an induction, it will never be 100 people out of 100 joiners, okay? Some will dodge it, decline it, not turn up, and these are the people that are going to get left behind, okay? So you need process. I won't go through the whole detail of it because it's different from system to system, club to club, but you want some processes or backups in place to go, okay, this person didn't turn up for their induction. Is the instructor going, happy days, I can do some cleaning or something really interesting because the induction hasn't turned up? Or is the instructor going, that's a real shame, I'm going to get on the phone to them, just see if they're all right? That's a much better option. Okay. If they turn it down, do you follow up with an email saying, that's fine, you've said you don't want induction, getting started, welcome session, whatever it is. If you ever want to change your mind, you know, the benefits of having one are you stay longer, you get results, you make more friends, whatever the benefits are at your site. You know, a couple of our recent joiners, Doris had an induction and she learnt this, this and this, and Fred you know, got these benefits. You've got some member testimonials and feedback stories from inductions. So send out an email to the people that turn it down and say, I know you've turned it down, that's cool, that's your choice, but 8 out of 10 cats prefer having inductions because, you know, whatever. Our members stay longer when they have an induction, that kind of thing. You might get one or two coming back and saying, I've changed my mind actually, I really would like to have that first appointment booked. And getting feedback off the back of them, whether it's through a NetPulse app or through an email with a little survey on it, things like that, is really good. And generally the feedback you get from inductions is, it was brilliant, I loved it, it was really great, and I now feel like this, and it was the best thing I've ever, and the person who did it was, use all that feedback, give it to all the instructors, because generally it's all really, really positive, okay? So it's really good to collect that feedback, and you can use it to sell more inductions. You could go into any of those other areas, but I would pick 2 or 3 areas around joining. It might be PT, okay? It might be the new member challenge. How many people can we get to complete or even start the new member challenge, whatever it is? You've got a little metric there that's saying, how engaged are our new members? And it will go alongside things that we're going to check in here to say, how are we doing on our new member journey? How good is onboarding at our club? On the 7th day, let's give all new members a call. Well, that really diligent instructor who did call them when they didn't turn up for their induction but left them a message and then didn't get around to remember to bring them back again the next day, quite possible that could happen if they called them in the first place. You've got a backup, okay? We're not leaving anyone behind here. And actually giving everyone a call 7 days after they've joined, if it's back to the email, it's a nice thing to do. It's not going to take a long time. They're paying you different amounts per month, I know, but picking up the phone. You'll be leaving a message a lot of the time, okay? But ringing up and doing things like, hey, how was your, did you get the welcome email? No, I didn't. Oh, yeah, you're on the bounce list actually, so, and I left you a message 2 days ago. Can we get your email right now? Yeah, I did get the email, thank you very much, but I've not clicked on it yet, but I will. Okay, good. We're starting to kind of get back to that. Is the whole process working? Have you had your induction? No, it's next week. Okay. Oh, I can see on the system it's on Tuesday at 11. Yep. Brilliant. Confirmed. Definitely going to be there Tuesday at 11. Or it was yesterday. How did it go? It was brilliant. It's just a nice chat. Have you been to a class yet? No. Right. What are we going to book you on? I'm doing, do you want to do something a bit yoga-y Pilates, or do you want to do a bit more Les Mills? Something, I'll come in, I'm doing the one on Thursday. Come and do it with me. Just is everything okay? A 7-day call, or maybe a 14-day call, or whatever. It's a really simple thing to do, and it massively boosts customer service, experience, and engagement. Okay, So it's a no-brainer really. Plus, if everything's going, if it's not, you rebook. If it is all going well, perfect point to say, even if you did it at a point of sale, which probably you did, have you got any friends that you'd like to bring down? Perfect referral opportunity. If someone has made less than 4 first month visits, those FMVs I was talking about earlier, if they've made less than 4, I wouldn't necessarily send them a congratulations, you've been a member for a month now message. I might send and I know I'm putting intonation into a message, but words like, hey, you've been a member for a month now, please see us for a program review, or something that's saying come in for an appointment. So if they've made 3 visits or only 2 or just 1, then it's not congratulations, you've been a member for a month now. It's hey, you've now been a member for a month, please see me type thing. Come in and have an interaction with us. So that might be the encourage side of this, congratulate, encourage. And if you do that, if you've got, again, my magic number of 100 people who joined 28 to 35 days ago, you can see how many congratulations messages you've sent and how many encourage messages you've sent. And you've got an immediate measure there of how well your onboarding is going. And I bet if you look at the encourage messages, a few of those people won't have had an induction and won't have attended a class. They're the at-risk ones. So it's just giving you maybe another call list for the following week. So I think generally in the industry they're massively underused. And they're most underused when people are charging £10 for them. Big posh club in Wales that do lots of golf as well, we're charging £10 per, I think it was Body Tracks. And they were making, some months they were making as much as £20 from having that bit of kit there. And they were charging, the membership was, towards £100 a month. And they were charging another tenner for that. It's like, what are you doing? Tell them it's worth 25 quid, but it's included in your membership. And they went and did that and got loads of people using it. And loads of people just checking in and working out where they are and knowing what their results are. So another great example, believe it or not, is eGym Premium. So getting people onto eGym Premium is just a brilliant idea for progression. So in terms of that as an example, drilling down a little bit more, for a member, it's a progression, it's something to aim for. So when they join, presumably you will tell them, I'm going to have their eGym induction, and you'll tell them that after 12 workouts or a certain amount of time or whatever it is, they will get to progress to premium, and it will unlock all those extra programs and things like that. So it gives them more program options. It gives them more goal-specific training that you've seen today. Okay, so I won't bang on about it. But what members say is that they get PT from the machine. That's not taking away from personal training. Personal trainers can still personal train and will sell more personal training by using eGym. But that's one of the things that members say. From the club point of view, an excuse for interaction, it's just a way to give members more value and an excuse to congratulate them as well. But when it comes down to the kind of the bottom line, members on eGym visit more often and stay longer and get faster results. There's some of the faster results there. There are some other banners still up around that have got the other results on. But in terms of these numbers, the research we've done with quite a few varied clubs, some public, some private, some like studios. So the results do vary. But premium members tend to visit between 25 and 50% more often than a non-eGym member. Okay? They stay, on average, and this is all research that we have done independently of eGym, they stay 10 to 20% longer, a premium member, than a non-eGym member. Okay? We've compared thousands of members who are not on eGym, from like the regular, from a Legend or an XN or whatever extract, with the members who are on eGym but using the data from Legend. I don't have the faster results figures, but they're on the board. But in terms of revenue, and I'll show you a specific example in a moment, it's 25 to 50% more income from a member on eGym Premium. Not eGym Classic. There is an uplift on Classic, on the kind of standard eGym, but getting members onto the premium product with eGym really has a big difference, okay? If 100 people join, it's kind of putting into pictures what I was saying earlier with the words. If 100 people join and 80 of them make 4 first month visits, chances are most of those, 3/4 of those actually will progress onto premium or onto a program review or onto a reweigh on the scales, okay? Whereas out of the ones who didn't make 4 first month visits, only 25% of them tend to progress. So monitoring first month visits and encouraging people to make 4 visits in their first month should be a priority, because it'll have a knock-on effect down the line, and the people will just stay longer anyway, but they'll also progress. If you want your personal trainers to get more people to follow the onboarding journey and comply with it, and you need their help selling it, you can use something like this to sell it to them, okay? Let's look at an example where only half of the members progress onto a program review. So at the end of 4 weeks, 6 weeks, only half of them actually have a program review. And this is fairly common, I would say. It's about, in the industry. About half of the people who join, who were probably all promised a program review when they joined, over-promised, are under-delivered. Okay? They don't get to have a program review. I mean, they don't necessarily come chasing for one, but they're not chased for one either. Out of the ones that did progress to a program review, about 10% of them will probably buy PT. Guess what? They're having an interaction. They're more likely to do business with people. Okay? But out of the ones that haven't had a program review, I mean, if you're lucky, one might buy PT in the next 6 months, but it's unlikely. So if you want to sell this to personal trainers, if you want to give the what's in it for them, they will sell more PT than more people that have a program at the end of month 1. Or the more inductions that you do, or the more make 4 first month visits. So it needs to be a what's in it for them. So the other slide I've got here is, so this is a big leisure operator, 70 plus sites, but this was actually from one site, but it's based on, it's over 1,000 eGym members compared with like 4,000 regular members. Members who aren't on eGym on average are making 4.7 visits a month. Members on eGym Classic, 5.5 visits per month. So it's a bit blurry, but that's a bit more clear. They're basically making 1 more visit per month if they're on eGym Classic. Premium are making 3 more visits a month than people who aren't on eGym. And it's that engagement and that just commitment and the progression and the program and the interactions that they've had. And you won't get everyone onto Premium, and you won't get everyone onto eGym. But in terms of getting people to visit more often, it does work. In terms of length of stay, this is length of stay for members who joined from the start of 2018 up until end of June 2019. So the maximum length of stay they could have was 18 months. Okay, so it's not a true length of stay, but it's comparable. So people who joined in that period who weren't on eGym stayed for around 5.9 months on average, 6 call it, and paid for 8 months. So that's stay and that's pay. Basically, classic eGym members are staying 2 months longer. I tend to look at length of stay rather than length of pay, because that's what's important to me. If you're retaining people, it's how long they're visiting for. Obviously, the CFO wants to know how long they're paying for, but that's there as well. And Premium are staying 3.5 months longer on average out of those members. And this is a retention curve, so if you want to come back and look at these online, you can. It's actually a bit of a depressing retention curve. That's because it's only based on people who joined from January 2018 to end of June 2019. So it's quite a sharp dip, but this is people on eGym either, and this is people who are not on eGym. Okay, and the difference there is basically, on average, the gap there is around 11%. It's obviously not there, but it's more there. And if you work out the difference, that area there, if everyone's paying £100 a month, or if you're getting a lifetime value of £100, it's hopefully more than that, with eGym you're getting £131.40. So when I had that earlier figure of it's up to 147% more, that's how we work that out, over 12 months.
I remember the first days when we started as a bunch of young and motivated people with the vision to revolutionize the fitness experience. And when we sold our first machines, we were celebrating like crazy, and it was such an exciting feeling. But if I see how many people are using our products today, and if I take a look what kind of products we can present you today, then I'm really proud.
We assembled the best engineers in the world here in our team, and they put all their passion and energy in designing these products. And I'm really proud of the team, of what they accomplished. I think the new machine generation is really a game changer for the fitness industry.
From the first sketch to the first prototypes, it took months. When they finally arrived, we knew, this isn't it. So we went through the second iteration, the third, and the fourth. We had it. This was it.
So innovation requires creativity. Being creative sometimes means making mistakes. And mistakes is what you're learning from. So what we did is take all those learnings into consideration, combine them with the customer feedback, and bake that into our new product.
It's still the same spirit inside our product, but technically that changed a lot.
Working for eGym, you need to have a mindset like a boxer. Because every time you fall down, you need to stand up again. And you really have to fight for the product and the result. Because you don't want to have a good one, you want the best.
At eGym, we make the gym work for everyone. So if our customers are happy and successful, that means that we are happy and successful.
When I was on a training floor for the first time in my life, I thought, imagine if we can make sure that every gym goer achieves their training goals. We will have a huge impact on the health of our society. And this is why we have created our mission statement. We make the gym work for everyone.
So we at eGym want to improve not our products, but also the lives of the people that use our products.
When I step into the gym, I want to see progress every day. And it's the exact same with stepping into the eGym office. So when I was approached with developing a new monitor module, I knew we had to make something special, something great. So the team gathered around, we discussed, and we defined a vision. And I think what we see here right now is exactly that, a vision.
And as we continue developing our products, I'm extremely proud to say that I feel the eGym Vision product line takes a huge step in that direction. With this very inviting large screen, very clear graphics, we really take the people by their hand and help them achieving their training goals. I'm very proud to present you today the best piece of equipment eGym has ever developed, our eGym Vision product line.